Well, there's some excitement here amongst the volunteers at Valendorf station because one of the line's new restorations is due to float by pretty soon. Under British management, Valendorf has always been known for preserving oddities, mostly up their German outline because this is set in Germany, but increasingly now some British restorations are taking place, including what we're expecting to come along the track in a minute. I wonder how many of you have heard of an old British railway called the Western, Clevedon and Portishead Railway, who had the unfortunate initials on their locos and stock of WC&P. But that was an old line that actually closed in 1940, and their stock, locos and stock, were all sold off. But strangely, their last and best locomotive, number 4, has been on restoration for some years here at Valendorf, and we're expecting to see it come by any minute. Well, the drivers got off and gone back to the reception, but the old WC&P, which you can see written on the side of the tank, is always a cause of merriment, even in Germany, because when people look for the railway, or used to look for the railway in the old days, they would ask for the WC&P, and very often they'd be shown to the public toilets. Sadly, there's nothing to be seen of the WC&P these days. I was recently in Portishead, which is the P in the title, and although in the past I had seen some old railway lines, neglected railway lines in Portishead, they were from the GWR line, not the light railway line, which just connected Western to Clevedon and then to Portishead. I think I'm right in saying there just is no trace whatsoever. No rails, no beardos, no nothing. There might be a bit of a signal somewhere, I believe, but that's about all you can hope to see. But it was quite a classic railway because it used to cut across roads with a man with a flag standing in front of it. They had a right motley of rolling stock, various tank engines, even had coaches from that were designed to be shipped to South America, I believe, of a failed order. Had all sorts of odds and ends, but for the first year or two I believe they made a go of the railway. But with increasing road transport they gradually lost patronage and had to fold just as the war was starting. Very sad. But it's good that people have been able to track down some of the locos like number 4, and here it is in a fine running order. Probably looking smarter than it ever did when it was on the WCMP. Having concentrated on European-made locomotives for many years now, initially because the quality of the build and performance far exceeded anything that British companies made. But this is a Hornby, and as you saw, it runs perfectly, and the amount of detail is brilliant. So anything British these days is a match for anything that comes from Germany or Austria, France. It's a lovely model. It's a lovely model. Back in the workshops they are still restoring a typical coach that this little terrier would have pulled along on some of the light railways. So perhaps later on we'll see it with a coach in tow. In the meantime, let's have a look at some developments at a station which is strictly off the layout. Down through that tunnel. Right off the layout, through this tunnel, is a little exchange station where 2 other lines come in. This has been extended in recent times so that I can run a train off the main layout, down through here, and down to a test area in the distance. And we got the simulation of another track coming in there on the right, also terminating here. And I believe we've got a rail car on its way into the platform nearest us. So we'll watch that come in. And it goes again. Well, I can see this little terrier is going to be a welcome addition to the layout. He's looking forward to some happy waterway times in the future to come. Luckily not affected by COVID in Valendorf. In Portishead itself, near where the old WCMP station used to be, there is a little display board telling you some of its history, which is quite interesting, so I'll insert that just here.
Stevens to take the line under his wing. He had interests in 15 other lines, and his brief was to bring the WC&P up to their standards. The Kent and East Sussex Light Railway, known as the Farmers' Line, was the first he managed. It's still operated today by an enthusiastic preservation society. With its Brighton Terrier locomotive of the same class as Vic Ware's beloved number 4. WC&P would have looked remarkably similar. Light railways were worked at slower speeds, constructed of lighter rails, and operated to less stringent standards than main lines. They provided a lifeline to the isolated communities they served, thanks largely to a band of dedicated managers and staff who were often overworked and underpaid.